My sisters, my daughters, my mothers, stand tall. You were never meant to bow. The world may have whispered, may have roared, may have laughed, saying, sit down, be quiet, wait your turn. But you, oh, you are not built for the shadows. I want you to hear me deep down in your bones, in the place where your grandmother's prayers still hum. There comes a time in every woman's life when she must decide, will she wait or will she walk? Will she linger in the shadows of hesitation, waiting for permission, or will she step boldly into the space that is rightfully hers? Leadership is not a gift bestowed by the world, nor is it a title handed down from above. Leadership is claimed. It is taken with the certainty of a woman who knows she was never meant to be small. From the moment she takes her first breath, a girl is taught to be careful, to be polite, to be accommodating. She is told to sit still, to wait her turn, to not be too loud, too bold, too much. She watches as hands are raised, as voices are heard, as decisions are made, and she learns that her power comes with conditions. But the truth, the undeniable, unshakable truth, is that leadership does not belong to those who are merely appointed. It belongs to those who stand up, those who refuse to shrink, those who understand that waiting for permission is the fastest way to be left behind. For too long, women have been led to believe that they must meet every qualification, tick every box, be twice as good before they dare to step forward. But history does not remember the cautious. It remembers the courageous. It remembers the women who moved before they were ready, who spoke when silence was expected, who stood when sitting was safer. There will always be voices that whisper, not yet experienced enough, not yet skilled enough, not yet the right moment. But when has change ever come to those who wait? It is not experience alone that builds a leader. It is the willingness to step into uncertainty, to embrace the discomfort of growth, to claim the space that fear would have her surrender. And what of doubt? It will be there, as it always is, creeping into the corners of her mind, telling her she is not enough. But doubt is not an enemy, it is a test. A woman who leads does not wait for doubt to disappear. She moves in spite of it. She understands that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision that fear will not control her. There will be resistance. Oh, yes. There will be those who question, who challenge, who push back. But a woman who leads does not need universal approval. She does not need the world to nod in agreement before she takes her place. She knows that strength is not found in seeking validation, but in trusting her own voice. Look at the world. Look at the spaces where decisions are made, where power is held, where futures are shaped. If they do not reflect you, it is not because you do not belong, it is because too many women have been made to believe they must wait to be chosen. No more. The seat at the table is not reserved for the silent. The microphone does not pass itself to those who whisper. Leadership is not about waiting, it is about stepping forward and saying, I am here. And so, to every woman standing at the edge of doubt, wondering if she is ready, if she is worthy, if she is enough, hear this, you are. You always have been. The world does not change by accident. It changes when women rise. And now it is your turn. Life has never handed women easy road. It has tested them, stretched them, placed walls in their paths, and dared them to stop. But a woman does not break, she bends, she shifts, she finds another way. She is resilience itself, carved from the storm she has weathered, built from the struggle she has endured. Every setback, every rejection, every door slammed in her face is not an end, it is a lesson, a sharpening, a preparation for what comes next. From the moment she takes her first steps, a girl learns that the world is not always kind. She watches as her efforts are overlooked, as her voice is talked over, as her dreams are met with hesitation. She is told to stay in her place, to adjust, to compromise, but deep inside something stronger lies. It is the fire of her foremothers, the unshakable spirit passed down through generations of women who refuse to yield. It is the echo of every woman who has ever been told no and still found a way to turn it into yes. Resilience is not given, it is forged. It is built in the moments when failure seems final, when the weight of expectation presses down, when the world seems intent on keeping her small. And yet she rises again. she rises. Not because she has never known doubt, but because she understands that hers not in avoiding struggle, it is in moving through it. They will say, it is too hard. They will say, why fight? Why push? Why not accept what is given? But a woman who leads does not settle for what is handed to her. She does not lower her gaze in defeat. She does not walk away simply because the road is steep. She knows that every obstacle is a test of her endurance, every challenge a chance to prove not to the world, but to herself that she is unshakable. A leader is not made in moments of ease. She is made in the fire of adversity. She is made when she loses and still finds the courage to try again. She is made when she is knocked down but refuses to stay there. She is made when she turns pain into wisdom, rejection into redirection, doubt into determination. And what a failure! It is not the enemy, it is the teacher. The most powerful women in history did not succeed because they never fell. They succeeded because they never stayed down. They understood that failure is not the end of the road. It is a stepping stone, a rough patch on the path to something greater. A woman who leads does not fear failure because she knows that resilience is not about never falling. It is about always getting back up. There will be times when the weight feels unbearable, when the dream feels out of reach, when the world seems to push back harder than she can push forward. But she was not built to break. She was not given this fire, this drive, this unshakable will for nothing. She stands, she fights, she endures not just for herself, but for every woman who comes after her, for every girl who looks up and sees what is possible. So when the world tells her to quit, she does not listen. When the road is blocked, she finds another way. When fear whispers that she is not strong enough, she remembers resilience is not about never struggling. It is about never surrendering. And she does not surrender. She never has. She never will. The world has long mistaken softness for weakness. It has looked at a woman's ability to feel, to understand, to nurture, and called it a flaw. It has told her to be harder, to be colder, to lead as if she were something she is not. But let it be known now, emotional intelligence is not a weakness. It is the quiet force that moves mountains, the unseen thread that holds communities together, the fire that burns without consuming. A woman walks into a room, and before a single word is spoken, she feels that the tension, the energy, the unspoken truths hanging heavy in the air. She listens not just to voices, but to what is left unsaid. She reads the spaces between words, the shift of eyes, the weight of silence. And because she knows she leads, she does not charge blindly forward, does not command without understanding. She moves with intention, with wisdom, with an awareness that leadership is not about power, it is about people. The greatest leaders are not those who shout the loudest or demand the most. They are those who know how to listen, how to connect, how to inspire others, not through fear, but through trust. And who understands trust better than a woman. She has spent a lifetime navigating expectations, balancing emotions, reading between the lines. She knows that true leadership is not about control, it is about influence, about the ability to lift others while standing tall herself. And yet, the world has tried to convince her otherwise. It has told her that she must choose between strength and compassion, between success and kindness, between power and empathy. But she refuses to choose. She knows that real strength is not in shutting down emotion, but in harnessing it. That real success is not in stepping on others, but in bringing them with her. That real power is not in fear, but in understanding. A woman who leads does not dismiss emotions as distractions. She uses them as tools. She understands that anger can be turned into action, that empathy can be turned into strategy, that intuition can be turned into vision. She sees what others miss, senses what others ignore. And that is why she cannot be overlooked, cannot be dismissed, cannot be underestimated. They will say, she is too sensitive. Let them say it. Sensitivity is not a flaw, it is a gift. It is what allows her to see the pain in another's eyes before they speak it. It is what allows her to sense the hesitation in a trembling voice, to know when to push and when to pause. It is what makes her not just a leader, but a force, a presence, a woman who changes the very air around her. And what of resilience? It is not separate from emotion, it is born from it. It is not cold detachment that allows a woman to rise after every fall, to keep going when the odds are against her. It is passion. It is purpose. It is the deep well of feeling that tells her this matters, that she matters, that what she is building is bigger than herself. So let no woman be fooled into thinking she must harden herself to lead. Let no woman believe that her ability to feel, to connect, to care, makes her any less capable. The world does not need more leaders who rule with an iron fist. It needs more who lead with wisdom, with vision, with heart. And she is that leader. She always has been. For too long, women have been taught to lower their voices, to measure their words, to be careful not to take up too much space. The world has told them to be polite, to be agreeable, to soften the edges of their ambitions so they do not make others uncomfortable. But change does not come from silence. Progress is not born from whispers. A woman who leads does not wait for the world to hand her a microphone. She raises her voice and she roars. She roars for the women who came before her, the ones who fought battles without ever seeing the victory. She roars for the women beside her, the ones still afraid to step forward, still waiting for permission to be heard. She roars for the girls who will follow, the ones watching, learning, wondering if they too are allowed to take up space. She does not speak for the sake of being loud. She speaks because the world will not change unless she does. There will always be those who tell her to be quiet. They will call her too aggressive, too demanding, too much. They will say she is overreacting, that she should wait, that she should find a softer way to say what she means. But a woman who leads does not ask, how can I make them comfortable? She asks, how can I make a difference? She knows that a whisper does not shake the ground, that a careful, hesitant voice does not challenge the status quo, that the world has never been changed by those who are afraid to be heard. The greatest movements in history were not led by those who sat quietly waiting their turn. They were led by those who stood up, who spoke up, who refused to be silenced, no matter how many times they were told to stop. And still she is told that her voice is too emotional, that her passion is too much, that she must calm down to be taken seriously. But she does not calm down. She does not dilute her fire to make it more acceptable. She does not trade her conviction for approval. She understands that leadership is not about making everyone comfortable, it is about making things happen. She does not raise her voice to hear herself speak. She raises it because justice demands it, because equality requires it, because progress is not polite, it is disruptive. It is inconvenient. It is the refusal to accept what is simply because it has always been that way. And what of those who fear her voice? What of those who say she should wait, that change will come in time? She knows better. She knows that change does not come to those who wait, it comes to those who demand it. She knows that every right she has today exists because another woman refused to be quiet. The right to vote, the right to work, the right to leave, none of these were given freely. They were fought for by women who were called too loud, too difficult, too much. A woman who leads does not ask for permission to speak. She does not wait for the world to be ready to listen. She steps forward, she takes the microphone, she makes sure her voice is heard. And when they tell her she is too much, she smiles, she stands taller, she speaks louder. Because she knows when women roar, the world must listen. Confidence is not about knowing all the answers. It is not about having every fact memorized, every outcome predicted, every move planned in perfect precision. Confidence is the unshaken belief that you belong, that you are enough, that the space you stand in is rightfully yours. A woman who leads does not wait until she is certain. She moves forward, knowing that certainty is built along the way. For too long, women have been taught to doubt themselves. They have been told they must be overqualified, over everything before they dare to claim a place at the table. They have watched as others, less prepared, less thoughtful, less capable, step into roles they were too hesitant to take. But hesitation does not serve a leader. It only gives doubt more time to whisper, more time to grow, more time to steal opportunities that were meant to be hers. She has seen it happen. A room full of voices and she holds back. Where she wants the answers, she second guesses. A moment when she could step forward, but she waits, thinking someone else might be more deserving. Confidence is not arrogance. It is not about taking over, speaking over, demanding attention for the sake of being seen. Confidence is knowing deep in her bones that she has every right to be here, that she does not need to apologize for taking up space, that she does not need to shrink to make others comfortable. She has spent years listening to the world tell her to be humble, to be cautious, to be sure before she speaks. But she has also seen the ones who move forward without hesitation, the ones who assume they belong even when they do not. And she realizes now the difference is not always skill. It is not always experience. It is the belief, the quiet, unwavering belief that one is worthy. That belief changes everything. And so she begins to shift. She stops waiting for certainty. She starts stepping into opportunities before she feels completely ready. She starts raising her hand, speaking her mind, making decisions with the knowledge that she is capable of figuring things out as she goes. She understands now that every leader, every great name, every powerful voice once stood where she stands, uncertain, untested, unsure. The only difference is that they step forward anyway. They will question her confidence. They will call her bold, call her fearless, call her anything but what she truly is prepared, capable, worthy. They will ask, who does she think she is? And she will answer, not with words, but with action, with presence, with the undeniable truth that she is here and she is not going anywhere. She understands now that confidence is not given, it is built, not by waiting, but by doing, not by watching, but by leading, not by seeking permission, but by claiming what is already hers. And so she does, she leads, she speaks, she stands tall, not because she has all the answers, but because she knows she belongs. Failure is not the enemy. It is not a mark of shame, not a weight that drags a woman down, not a reason to turn back. Failure is a teacher, the architect, the map maker of success. A woman who leads does not fear failure, she uses it. She does not crumble beneath its weight, she stands taller because of it. She knows that every stumble, every misstep, every door that closes is simply pointing her toward a new direction, a better way, a deeper understanding of her own strength. She has seen what fear of failure does to women. It makes them hesitate. It makes them question their own ability before they even begin. It makes them step back when they should step forward. She has seen brilliant women hold themselves back, not because they lack talent, not because they lack passion, but because they were afraid of making a mistake, of not getting it right the first time, of falling short in a world that rarely gives them second chances. But she has also seen something else. She has seen the women who rise despite it all, the ones who take the risk, who bet on themselves, who refuse to let the fear of failure keep them from trying. And she has learned that those are the women who change the world. She understands now that failure is not the opposite of success, it is a part of it. No woman who has ever led, who has ever built something great, who has ever carved a path where there was none has done so without failing. She knows that failure is not proof that she is not enough. It is proof that she is trying, that she is growing, that she is daring to do what others will not. She knows that the only true failure is not trying at all. And so she shifts. She stops seeing failure as a reason to retreat. She stops letting mistakes define her worth. She stops giving doubt the power to hold her back. Instead, she learns. She adjusts. She moves forward with the knowledge that every great leader, every woman who has ever stood where she stands has failed. And then they have risen. The world will tell her to be careful, to play it safe, to avoid risks, to avoid uncertainty, to avoid the possibility of getting it wrong. But she knows better now. She knows that safety does not build leaders, that playing small does not create change, that real leadership, real impact, real progress requires courage, the courage to fail, the courage to try again, the courage to believe in herself, even when the world does not. And so she leads, not because she has never fallen, but because she has never stayed down. Not because she has always been right, but because she has always been willing to learn. Not because she has never feared failure, but because she has never let that fear stop her. And she never will. No woman walks her path alone. No success, no victory, no breakthrough happens in isolation. A woman who leads knows that true power is not in standing alone at the top, but in lifting others with her, in opening doors, in making sure no woman ever has to fight the same battles alone. She understands that leadership is not about reaching the summit, it is about making sure others can follow. She has seen what happens when women are made to compete, when they are taught that there is only room for one, that power is a scarce thing, that success is a lonely road. She has seen women hold back, afraid to share, afraid to support, afraid that another woman's rise means their own fall. But she knows better. She knows that real power multiplies, that when women stand together, when they uplift each other, when they refuse to see each other as rivals but as allies, something unstoppable happens. She remembers the hands that pulled her forward, the mentor who told her she was capable when she doubted herself, the friend who reminded her of her worth when the world tried to make her forget, the women who showed her that strength is not just in standing tall, it is in making sure others can stand too. And so she does the same. She reaches back. She opens doors. She makes space at the table and pulls up chairs for those who come after her. She understands that leadership is not just about what she achieves, but about the legacy she leaves. A woman who leads does not just break barriers, she makes sure they do not rise again. She does not just climb, she builds ladders. She does not just win, she changes the rules so that winning is not a privilege for the few, but a right for all. And yet she knows the world does not always make this easy. It tells women to compete, to compare, to believe that success is limited and that helping another means losing something themselves. But she refuses to believe in scarcity. She knows that when one woman rises, it clears the way for more. That the strength of one is the strength of many. That when women choose to support instead of compete, to mentor instead of isolate, to build each other up instead of tear each other down, they create something unbreakable. She moves differently now. She no longer sees another woman's success as a threat, but as proof of what is possible. She no longer lets insecurity tell her there is not enough room. She no longer believes the lie that power must be hoarded. Instead, she leads with open hands, with open doors, with the understanding that the true mark of a leader is not in how far she goes alone, but in how many she brings with her. So she lifts as she climbs. She speaks the names of women who are not in the room. She creates opportunities where there were none. She offers her wisdom, her support, her belief, knowing that every woman she lifts will one day do the same for another. And in this way, leadership is not just about her, it becomes something bigger, something lasting, something that will continue long after she is gone. She does not walk alone. She never has. And she never will. The world has tried to define women's leadership in narrow terms to tell them how they should lead, how they should speak, how they should exist in spaces that were never built for them. But a woman who leads does not wait for permission. She does not ask for validation. She steps forward with the full force of her wisdom, her courage, her voice, and her vision. She leads not by becoming someone else, but by embracing exactly who she is, unapologetic, strong, and limitless. She understands that leadership is not about standing alone at the top, but about lifting others, about building something greater than herself, about ensuring that the doors she walks through remain open for those who come after. She does not fear failure because she knows it is a stepping stone. She does not shrink in the face of doubt because she knows her worth. She does not quiet her voice because she understands that change demands to be heard. She leads with intelligence, with resilience, with the power of her emotions and the strength of her convictions. And in doing so, she reshapes the world. She proves that leadership is not defined by gender, but by vision, by determination, by the relentless pursuit of a future where every woman stands without hesitation, without apology, without fear. So to every woman who has ever questioned her place, who has ever doubted her power, stand tall. Speak boldly. Lead with everything you are. The world is waiting for you. Good luck on your journey, and thank you. Hello, everyone. There comes a time in each of our lives when we must stand in the quiet hush of our own becoming and ask ourselves the most courageous question. What am I still holding on to that no longer holds me? Life does not wait for us to be ready. It does not pause while we wrestle with memories, mistakes, or the ghosts of what could have been. No, life strides on, bold and unbothered, like a river rolling over stubborn stone, and so must we. We often think strength is in the holding. We believe our dignity lives in clenched fists and tightly drawn hearts. But true strength, the kind that makes the spirit rise and the soul hum, lives in the letting go. That is where we learn the sacred dance of release, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary, because the burden grows too heavy, the dream too small, the love too lonesome. We must unclench our hearts so that grace can pour in. We must open our hands so that healing can touch our palms. You see, when we let go, we are not giving up, we are giving in. Giving in to the rhythm of something greater than our fears. We are saying yes to the unknown, yes to growth, yes to peace. We are no longer willing to be dragged by memories that don't serve us, by people who don't see us, or by stories that no longer fit the soul we are becoming. Letting go is not a loss, it is a liberation. It is not surrender, it is the beginning of sovereignty. Oh, we've all known what it feels like to carry what we should have released long ago, that old heartache, that worn-out plan, that bitter word still stuck between our teeth. But how long must we wear shackles made of yesterday? How long must we drag the chains of what they did or didn't do? There is a power in forgiveness, and there is a deeper power in forgetting, not because it erases the past, but because it frees the future. To let go is to trust that what is meant will remain and what is not will find its way to the wind. It is to walk forward not with the swagger of arrogance, but with the sway of faith. It is to whisper, I am ready, even when your knees are trembling, because you know deep down that the storm has already done its teaching, and it is now time to walk in the calm of your knowing. Letting go is not giving up. It's choosing freedom over fear. That is a truth not everyone is ready to hear, but one we all must learn if we want to live a life that breathes peace. Too often, we mistake holding on for strength, as if endurance in suffering earns us some quiet badge of honor. We grip tight to relationships that have long since lost their tenderness, to dreams that have outgrown their usefulness, and to versions of ourselves that no longer reflect the soul that stirs within us. But freedom does not live in clenched fists. It lives in the open hand, the lifted heart, and the brave decision to say, this no longer serves me. You see, fear is sneaky. It cloaks itself in loyalty, in nostalgia, in the comfort of the known. It tells us that letting go is the same as losing. That if we walk away from what has shaped us, even if it's broken us, we're abandoning something sacred. But real truth whispers a different song. It tells us that letting go is not a betrayal, it's a blessing. It is not the absence of care, it is the presence of wisdom. It is the quiet, unshakable knowing that we deserve more than surviving. We deserve to live fully, deeply, without apology. Freedom doesn't come wrapped in perfection. It arrives messy, trembling, and usually later than we hoped. It shows up when we decide we are no longer willing to be defined by wounds. It finds us when we stop rehearsing our pain and start rehearsing our peace. Letting go is an act of courage, not cowardice. It's a choice to believe that the future still has gifts for us, even if the past was all we ever knew. It means trusting that the unknown isn't always a threat. It might just be the start of something holy. Letting go may begin with silence, with sitting still and hearing the quiet voice that says, enough. And when we finally decide to listen, to loosen our grip on what weighs us down, we begin to rise. Slowly, perhaps, but surely. And in that rise, we remember who we are, not what happened to us, not what left us, not what never came, but who we are without all the heaviness, who we are when we choose to live light, to live honest, to live brave. No one said it would be easy. Letting go often feels like standing in the middle of a storm with nothing to cling to but your breath. It may break your heart, but it will also build your spirit. And there is a beauty in the breaking, because when we are no longer held together by fear, we make room for the strength that is quiet, steady, and sacred. That strength doesn't shout, it doesn't boast, it simply is, like the wind that moves through trees, like the light that breaks through morning. So when the time comes and you feel the weight of what no longer fits pressing on your chest, dare to release it. Let go, not because you are tired, but because you are ready. Ready to be free, ready to be new, ready to live, not in the shadow of fear, but in the light of your own becoming. You are not losing. Release makes space for growth, healing, and unexpected blessings. When we finally loosen our grip on the things we were never meant to carry forever, we open the door to transformation. Life has a way of waiting patiently for us to arrive at this truth. It does not force our hands, but it does press gently, like the wind against a locked window, nudging us toward the moment we realize we are not living. We are simply holding on. And holding on, when the season has shifted, becomes a silent kind of suffering. There is something profoundly sacred about letting go, not because it instantly makes everything better, but because it clears the way for better things to begin. The weight we carry, the pain we cradle, the expectations we chain ourselves to, they take up space not just in our hands, but in our hearts. And there is only so much room. Growth cannot thrive where bitterness is rooted. Healing cannot pour in when resentment is blocking the path. And blessings often miss us entirely because we are too full of what we refuse to release. It's easy to say we want change. It's harder to make room for it because change doesn't come dressed in comfort. It arrives wrapped in unfamiliar choices and strange new silences. It asks us to trust, to wait, to move without a map. And to do that, we must clear the clutter of old stories, of tired beliefs, of worn-out hopes that have already done their work. We must be willing to let life reintroduce itself to us, not as we thought it would be, but as it longs to become. There is no shame in growing beyond what once fit. In fact, that is the very sign that we are alive. The tree does not apologize for shedding its leaves. The river does not mourn the land it has left behind. And we too must learn that our release is part of nature's rhythm. The more we resist it, the more we suffer. But the moment we surrender gently, honestly, and without fury, we begin to feel the shift. We begin to notice the quiet, steady return of breath. And with that breath comes space, the space to discover who we are without the ache, the space to feel the sun where the burden used to sit, the space to believe in something again. Something fresh, something whole, something kind. We are not meant to be bound to our pain. We're meant to pass through it, learn from it, and then rise from it with softer eyes and stronger hearts. Letting go invites blessings we never could have imagined, not always in the form we expected, not always wrapped in ribbon or dressed in applause. Sometimes the blessing is a good night's sleep. Sometimes it's the quiet joy of not reacting. Sometimes it's the freedom to walk into a room and not feel small. The world becomes wider when we are no longer trapped by our own resistance. And even though we may not see it right away, life begins to answer the space we make with gifts only emptiness can receive. So trust the process of release. Trust that growth follows the fall, that healing needs air to breathe, that blessings often arrive only after the clearing. You were never meant to carry it all. Let it fall away and let what comes next find you. Holding on to pain does not prove strength. Releasing it reveals it. We often grow up believing that enduring hardship without flinching is a badge of honor, that suffering in silence is noble, and that to let go of hurt is to forget the lesson it brought. But that belief can become a chain around the spirit, locking us inside moments that should have long passed. True strength is not found in how long we carry the weight of our wounds, but in the courage it takes to set them down. It is easy to cling to what broke us, but it takes something deeper, something more soulful, to release the hurt and still stand tall. Pain is persuasive. It whispers that we are incomplete without it, that our identity is tangled in what we've survived. It convinces us that to let go is to be weak, to surrender is to be defeated. But there is a quiet power in surrender that the world too often overlooks. It's the power of peace. It's the strength to look at what hurt you and say, you don't get to hold me anymore. That kind of strength does not scream. It speaks in stillness. It walks with grace. It refuses to be defined by bruises and instead leans into beauty. Sometimes we hold on to pain because it's familiar. We know how to wear it, how to explain it, how to build walls around it. But holding on doesn't heal us. It only keeps us in a place of waiting for someone to fix what already happened, waiting for a different ending that will never come. Pain can shape us, yes, but it should not shackle us. And when we begin to understand that, we begin to soften in the places where we once braced ourselves. We begin to breathe in a way we forgot was possible. There is nothing weak about choosing peace, nothing fragile about seeking light. When we release pain, we are not erasing what happened. We are refusing to relive it every day. We are making a sacred decision to no longer carry what was never meant to be ours forever. Pain was a visitor. It may have taught us, stretched us, even awakened us, but it was never meant to become our home. Releasing pain allows space for compassion to grow, not just for others, but for ourselves. And with that compassion comes clarity. We see the past for what it was, not what we imagined or hoped it would be. We stop justifying the harm done to us. We stop excusing our own need to keep reopening the wound. Healing doesn't come from resisting pain. It comes from allowing it to move through and then letting it move on. It is in the act of release that we find the kind of strength that heals generations. When we choose not to pass down our bitterness, when we choose not to speak from our scars, but from our wisdom, we become a force of change. The world does not need more people who know how to suffer silently. It needs people who know how to let go loudly, with clarity, with kindness, and with unwavering faith that something greater is coming. So if you are holding on, ask yourself, is it protecting you or is it preventing you? Is it helping you grow or keeping you stuck? You deserve more than to be a museum of your pain. You deserve to be a garden of your becoming. Let go, not because you are broken, but because you are strong enough to bloom. Peace begins the moment you stop fighting what cannot be changed. Life in all its wild turns and uncertain tides does not always ask for our approval. It simply moves forward, onward, whether we resist or surrender. And far too often we exhaust ourselves trying to rewrite moments that have already passed, trying to reshape people who never wanted to grow, or trying to rearrange endings we were never meant to control. But there is a quiet liberation in acceptance. There is power, not in resistance, but in release. We are taught to fight for what we love, to push back against disappointment, to hustle our way through heartache. But not every battle is worth waging. Not every season is meant to last, and not every door that closes is a mistake. The deeper truth, the one we discover only when we've worn ourselves thin, is that peace is not found in the victory of every struggle, but in the wisdom to know which struggles no longer deserve our strength. Surrender is not weakness. It is the sacred act of returning to yourself, free of the burden to fix what was never yours to carry. Sometimes we confuse persistence with purpose. We keep showing up for relationships that deplete us, ideas that no longer inspire us, memories that only wound us. We rehearse the pain, replay the arguments, relive the moments, hoping that somehow through repetition they will offer new answers. But they don't, because peace isn't born from control. It grows only when we stop insisting that life must bend to our will and start embracing the beauty of what is. When we stop fighting what cannot be changed, we begin to see with new eyes. We begin to notice what's still blooming even after the storm. We begin to hear the silence not as emptiness, but as space. And in that space, something divine unfolds. We are no longer pressed against the edges of our own expectations. We become open to life as it is. Not perfect, not predictable, but full of quiet gifts we never saw while we were clenching our fists. Letting go of the need to control does not mean giving up. It means choosing peace over pressure. It means learning to sit with the discomfort of not knowing and still trusting that something good will come. It means giving yourself permission to be okay with unfinished stories, to walk away from what you thought would last, and to bless the broken pieces without demanding they fit back together. Peace is not a place you arrive at once and for all. It is a practice, a choice we make moment by moment. It is the breath we take when we want to scream, the pause we allow when we want to chase after what's leaving. It is the silence we honor when no answer comes, and the more we practice it, the more it finds a home within us. It begins to steady us, teaches us to be soft in the face of uncertainty, kind in the midst of confusion, and whole in the absence of closure. So if you find yourself fighting what cannot be undone, consider this. What might your life feel like if you laid down your weapons, not in defeat, but in devotion to your own peace? What might begin to grow in you if you stopped wrestling with yesterday and started tending to what's still in bloom today? There is a gentle power in acceptance. There is a mighty grace in release. And somewhere within it, peace is waiting with open arms. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. It holds our stories, our shaping, our shadows, and our shining, but it is not where we are meant to live. Too many of us pitch tents in the places where we were once hurt, once rejected, once not enough. We wander back to the scenes of our sorrow, trying to understand, trying to fix, trying to change a moment that is already written. Yet the past cannot be undone. It can only be learned from, honored, and left where it belongs. We were not created to stay stuck in moments that have outlived their season. Yes, the past has lessons, valuable ones, but those lessons are meant to be carried, not the pain. We are not called to repeat the same chapter, whispering old words and waiting for a new ending. There is no growth in circling the same memory, hoping it will somehow love us better this time. When we live in the past, we keep our joy on hold. We hold our breath for what will never come back. And in doing so, we rob ourselves of what can still come forward. Letting go of the past is not about forgetting. It is about choosing not to bleed from the same wound. It is the quiet, steady decision to turn your gaze toward the present, where healing happens, where possibilities live. When we treat the past as a reference, we become wiser, we become rooted, we understand what shaped us. But we also understand that we are not only what happened to us, we are what we decide to do with what happened. That decision is where our power lives. Painful memories can echo long after they end, but the echo is not the event. It is a reflection, and we must learn to recognize the difference. Every time we relive a heartbreak, a betrayal, a failure, we give it space it no longer deserves. We breathe life into something that should no longer speak. And the longer we live there, the less room we make for who we are now becoming. There is no shame in remembering. The past is part of your tapestry, but it is not the full picture. You are not meant to decorate your life with regrets. You are meant to build it with resilience. The past does not define you unless you let it. It does not get to decide your worth, your direction, or your destiny. Only you can do that. Some chapters were painful, some were beautiful, some were both, but none of them were meant to be your forever home. If you keep turning your face toward yesterday, you'll miss the sunrise of today. And life, real, breathing, soul-shifting life is happening now, not back then. The opportunity to be more, to feel lighter, to dream wider is only found in the present. And the only way to step fully into the now is to stop trying to edit the then. So use the past for what it's worth. Let it teach you, let it remind you, let it shape your compassion, your wisdom, your understanding, but don't let it trap you. Don't let it sit on your chest and call it memory. You deserve to walk forward. You deserve to breathe deeper. You deserve to live in the light of what is, not just what was. It is time to come home to yourself. Not the self you used to be, but the one rising now, whole and ready. Let the past rest and let yourself rise. You cannot receive the future with hands full of yesterday. Life is always offering us something new, a moment, an opportunity, a truth, but it rarely forces it upon us. Instead, it waits. It waits until we are willing to release what we keep clutching in fear, what we grip out of habit, what we hold not because it still serves us, but because it feels familiar. The future cannot bloom in soil overrun with old roots, and the heart cannot soar when it is weighed down by what should have been let go long ago. We often carry yesterday like armor, believing it protects us from being hurt again. But what we think is armor is often just residue, pain, guilt, anger, disappointment that clings to us and dims our light. We use the past as a measure, as a filter, as a defense. But the more we do, the less room we leave for wonder, the less space we give to joy, the more we shrink in preparation for more hurt instead of expanding in hope for more healing. Letting go is not about forgetting or pretending something never happened. It's about clearing space. It's about saying, this chapter has taught me, and now I am ready to turn the page. The future is not waiting for the perfect version of you. It is simply waiting for your open hands. Hands no longer weighed down by old expectations, closed doors, or the lingering ache of words never spoken. There is a beauty in releasing what no longer belongs, a sacred emptiness that is not loss, but readiness. When your hands are empty, you are free to receive. You are open to what could be, not just what has been. And the truth is, life has more to offer you, more than the echoes of yesterday's story. But to receive it, you must be willing to walk away from the doorway where nothing new has knocked in a long time. The future speaks in whispers. It nudges us through intuition, through stillness, through the gentle ache that says, you were made for more. But we often miss those messages, not because they aren't there, but because we are still speaking the language of our old selves. We replay the same hurt, we ask the same questions, we grieve the same endings. And in doing so, we keep our arms full of what cannot change, leaving no room for what can. There is great trust involved in letting go. Trust that life is not done surprising you, not done blessing you, not done calling you to become something even greater than you once imagined. That trust grows stronger each time you loosen your grip. Each time you stop trying to carry everything alone. It grows when you believe that what is meant for you will never require you to carry what is breaking you. So if your hands are tired from holding, if your heart is aching from repeating, let it go. Not because it didn't matter, but because it mattered enough to be a stepping stone, not a destination. Your future is calling not from behind you, but from ahead. And it cannot meet you until you're ready to meet it, empty-handed and open-hearted. Let go and make space for what is yet to come. Letting go is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a new one. It is the quiet act of courage that says, I am ready to live free. Through each release, we reclaim a little more of our peace, our joy, our power. We learn that holding on does not make us stronger, and that true strength is found in the softness of surrender, in the grace of acceptance, in the boldness of walking forward without the weight of what once was. The past has shaped us, yes, but it does not own us. We are free to let it teach us without letting it trap us. We are free to loosen our grip on pain, regret, and fear, and open our hands wide to possibility, to growth, and to peace. And in that sacred space of release, we become unstoppable. Good luck on your journey toward lightness, toward truth, and toward the beautiful unknown that waits for you. Thank you for listening. Dear sisters, there comes a time when the noise of the world grows so loud that it threatens to drown the music inside your soul. You may stand in the middle of the storm, winds tearing at your spirit, doubts whispering at every corner, fear pressing against your chest like a heavy stone. Yet it is in that very place, in the middle of chaos, that a warrior is born. A warrior is not shaped in comfort. A warrior is carved out of fire, out of trial, out of the unrelenting push of life that says, rise or fall, endure or break. The warrior mindset is not about steel or muscle. It is about spirit. It is the ability to look chaos in the eye and say, you may shake me, but you will not take me. You may bruise me, but you will not stop me. It is that steady voice within that whispers when all else is silent, keep going. It is resilience dressed in courage, walking with dignity, even when the ground beneath trembles. A warrior is not shaped in comfort, but forged in the fire of adversity. Comfort may offer rest, but it rarely offers growth. It is in the heat of struggle, in the relentless press of difficulty, that the true strength of a person begins to show itself. When life places you in moments of ease, you learn little about the depth of your own spirit. It is when life pushes against you, when obstacles stand tall in your path, when the weight feels unbearable, that you are given the opportunity to discover what you are truly made of. Adversity is the furnace where resilience is born. A smooth path teaches nothing about balance, but a rough road forces you to steady your steps. The storms you face may seem cruel, yet within them lies the hidden gift of transformation. Every time you are struck down, every time you are stretched beyond what you thought you could endure, something within you grows stronger. It is not in the soft hands of comfort that warriors are crafted, but in the harsh grip of trial. When you meet chaos, it shakes you at your core. It leaves you uncertain, restless, questioning why the world seems determined to weigh you down. Yet those very moments of shaking strip away illusions. They strip away weakness. They strip away everything that does not belong to the strength you are meant to carry. What remains is the essence of a warrior, clear, unshaken, sharpened by the fire of adversity. Comfort would have left you untested. Struggle leaves you unbreakable. Consider the river carving its way through stone. It does not ask permission. It does not retreat. It pushes forward year after year until what once seemed immovable bends to its persistence. That is what adversity does to the soul. It demands persistence. It demands patience. It demands that you keep pressing forward even when progress feels invisible. And just as the stone gives way to water, so too does life yield to those who endure its storms with a warrior's mindset. In chaos, you are called to a higher strength. When comfort is stripped away, you are forced to find stability within yourself. The noise outside may grow louder, but the voice within learns to speak with more power. You learn not to wait for the world to quiet down, but to carry your calm into the noise. That is the difference between those who crumble in chaos and those who rise through it. The warrior understands that comfort cannot be the measure of peace. Peace must come from within, carved out of resilience, anchored in faith, steadied by determination. Adversity does not mean defeat, it means opportunity. Every hardship you face is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of a deeper strength. The fire may burn, but it also refines. It melts away doubt and reveals courage. It clears out weakness and uncovers resilience. It tests your spirit, yes, but it also teaches you that you are far more capable than you imagined. And once you know this truth, you carry it into every future storm with a quiet confidence that cannot be stolen. So when the world feels heavy, when you are pressed against the edge of your endurance, do not despair. Understand that you are in the fire that shapes warriors. You are in the furnace where resilience is forged. Comfort will not carry you through the storms ahead, but the strength born in adversity will. Let every challenge remind you not of what you have lost, but of what you are gaining. Let every trial remind you that you are becoming someone who can stand tall in the face of chaos. A warrior is not shaped in comfort. A warrior is born in fire. And in that fire, you will discover the strength that was waiting inside you all along. Resilience is the silent power that turns chaos into strength. It is not loud, it does not boast, it does not seek the spotlight, but it is always there, working quietly inside the soul. In the midst of turmoil, when everything around you feels broken and out of control, resilience whispers a steady truth. You can endure this. It does not erase the storm, it does not remove the struggle, but it transforms the way you carry them. It teaches you that chaos does not have to define you. Instead, it can refine you. When the world feels as though it is collapsing, resilience is what steadies your steps. It is not about ignoring pain or pretending the weight is light. It is about embracing the storm and choosing not to be swallowed by it. You may bend, but you will not break. You may stumble, but you will not surrender. Resilience is the unseen anchor that keeps you grounded when the winds of chaos try to pull you away. Without it, life's storms can tear a person apart. With it, those same storms become the very training ground where strength is built. Chaos has a way of revealing what is real and what is fragile. It shakes everything, leaving only what can endure. Resilience takes that shaking and turns it into fuel. It gathers the scattered pieces of your spirit and says, "We will go on." It turns the noise into clarity, the doubt into determination, the fear into courage. Where chaos intends to overwhelm, resilience chooses to transform. And in that transformation, you rise stronger than you were before. This power is not always visible to others. People may not see the battle inside you. They may not see the nights you held on when giving up seemed easier. They may not hear the inner voice that reminded you to keep walking even when the road felt endless. But resilience does not need applause. Its victory is not in recognition, but in survival, in growth, in the quiet triumph of standing tall after the storm has passed. The silent power of resilience also teaches patience. In chaos, we often want quick answers, immediate relief, fast solutions. But resilience teaches that growth takes time, healing takes time, rising takes time. It whispers that it is enough to move slowly as long as you do not stop. It reminds you that strength is not always in running, but sometimes in simply standing when everything around you tells you to fall. Resilience is also a teacher of perspective. Chaos can make you believe the darkness will never end, but resilience holds on to the truth that nothing is permanent, not even the storm. It keeps your eyes lifted toward the horizon where light will one day return. It changes how you view hardship, showing you not only what was lost, but what can be gained through endurance. You begin to see the storm not as an enemy, but as a sculptor, shaping your spirit into something more powerful, more unshakable, more complete. Every time you practice resilience, you add another layer of strength to your character. You begin to trust yourself more deeply. You begin to believe in your own capacity to rise no matter what chaos throws at you. That belief becomes a shield. It allows you to walk into uncertainty with a calm that others cannot understand. They may see the storm, but you carry the quiet strength that says, "I have walked through storms before, and I will walk through this one too." Resilience is not about avoiding chaos. It is about turning it into a foundation for growth. It is the power that transforms the very weight that tried to crush you into the strength that lifts you higher. It is the quiet proof that while chaos is loud, resilience is louder in its results. Chaos shouts, but resilience endures. And when you carry that silent power within you, you are no longer a victim of chaos. You are a warrior shaped by it, strengthened through it, and lifted above it. Fear does not disappear, but the warrior walks forward despite it. Fear is a natural companion of life. It arrives uninvited, sits at your table, and tries to whisper doubts into your ear. It tells you that you are not strong enough, not ready enough, not worthy enough. It points to the shadows and convinces you they are larger than they are. Many people wait for fear to vanish before they take the next step, believing that only in its absence can they move forward. But the truth is that fear rarely leaves. It lingers, it shadows, it presses against your courage. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who rise lies not in the disappearance of fear, but in the decision to keep walking with it beside them. A warrior does not deny fear. A warrior acknowledges it. They feel its weight, but refuse to let it hold the reins. They understand that courage is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear dictate the path. Every act of strength is born in the presence of fear. Every moment of growth comes from stepping forward when trembling hands would rather cling to the safety of stillness. Fear is often loudest at the threshold of transformation. Right before a breakthrough, right before a bold step, fear tries to grow taller. It shouts that you cannot. It insists that you will fail. But the warrior knows that fear's voice is not a prophecy. It is simply a sign that you are on the edge of something greater. And instead of retreating, the warrior leans forward. They do not wait for the silence of fear. They move with its noise echoing in the background, proving with each step that fear cannot rule them. Walking forward despite fear requires trust in yourself. It requires believing that even if you stumble, you can rise again. It requires faith that the path, though uncertain, will reveal itself with each step you take. Too often, people let fear build walls in their minds, a wall so high they never attempt to climb them. But a warrior knows that walls are meant to be challenged. They know that what waits on the other side of fear is growth, freedom, and the deeper strength of resilience. Fear tries to chain you to comfort, to convince you that safety is better than struggle. But the warrior understands that safety without growth is its own kind of prison. They choose to step into the unknown, not because fear is gone, but because purpose is greater than fear. The vision of who they are becoming speaks louder than the voice of doubt. The call of resilience outweighs the call of retreat. Even in chaos, fear rises. The unknown shakes the heart, and the mind fills with questions that have no easy answers. Yet it is in those very moments that the warrior's courage shines brightest. They do not pretend to be unafraid. They simply decide that fear will walk beside them, not ahead of them. And with every step taken in spite of fear, the warrior mindset grows stronger. The spirit becomes more unshakable, and resilience takes deeper root. It is important to remember that even the strongest warriors feel fear. What makes them different is their relationship with it. They see fear not as an enemy, but as a signal that they are moving into new territory, into growth, into deeper strength. Fear may travel with them, but it never sets the course. And the more they walk through it, the smaller fear becomes, until one day its whispers hold no weight at all. Fear does not disappear. It may knock at your door. It may try to walk beside you, but you decide if it leads you or follows you. A warrior always chooses to walk forward, to rise, to continue despite the trembling. That is resilience. That is strength. That is the path that leads through chaos into victory. Scars are not signs of weakness. They are proof of survival. Every scar tells a story, not of defeat, but of endurance. They are reminders that you entered the fire, felt the burn, and still came out standing. The world often teaches us to hide our scars, to cover them, to pretend the battles never happened. But a warrior knows better. A warrior carries scars as evidence that chaos did not win. They are not marks of shame, but medals of honor, proof that the storm was real, Yet so was the strength to overcome it. When you face chaos, you do not walk away untouched. You walk away changed. Sometimes that change leaves visible marks. Sometimes it leaves invisible ones deep within the soul. But whether seen or unseen, those marks mean you endured. They mean you found resilience when it would have been easier to give up. They mean you fought battles that others may never know, and you survived to tell the story. Scars remind you of where you have been, but they do not define where you are going. They are part of your story, but not the end of it. They are pages filled with struggle that eventually lead to chapters of strength. Every scar carries within it the lesson that you were tested and that you did not break. The chaos may have left its mark, but it could not steal your spirit. And that is why scars are sacred. They carry not only pain, but also power. There is beauty in a scar when seen through the eyes of resilience. It shows that healing has happened. It shows that time and strength work together to close a wound that once felt unbearable. It shows that you did not stay broken, that you chose to rise. The warrior understands that scars do not reduce worth, they increase it. They mean you carry wisdom that cannot be taught by words alone. They mean you have lived through storms and gained the strength to walk with dignity in their aftermath. Some people will see your scars and misunderstand them. They may assume they are reminders of weakness, of times when life defeated you. But you know the truth. Scars do not come from falling down, they come from rising again. They are proof that you kept walking, that you pushed through the chaos and came out the other side stronger. To the warrior, every scar is a testimony, a symbol that even pain could not silence the will to endure. In chaos, when everything feels uncertain and fragile, scars remind you of your own resilience. They whisper that you have faced storms before and found a way through. They remind you that pain is temporary, but strength is lasting. They become anchors in the middle of new battles, proof that if you survived before, you can survive again. They turn doubt into determination, fear into faith, weakness into wisdom. Scars also connect us to others. They tell stories of shared humanity. No one escapes life without wounds, and in showing your scars, you give others permission to embrace their own. A warrior does not hide the journey, but wears it with dignity, allowing others to see that strength is not in avoiding struggle, but in rising from it. Scars become bridges that unite people through resilience, courage, and the shared experience of survival. When chaos threatens to consume you, remember the scars you already carry. Each one is proof that you have been tested and proven. Each one is a reminder that pain is not the end, but the passage to resilience. The warrior does not curse the scars. The warrior honors them because they mean the fire came and the fire passed, yet the soul still stands. Scars are not signs of weakness. They are the written evidence that survival is possible, that resilience is real, and that the warrior mindset transforms wounds into strength. Every storm carries the lesson that no night lasts forever. Life has a way of pulling us into seasons that feel endless, nights that seem too dark to pass, storms that roar so loud we cannot imagine silence ever returning. Yet, even the fiercest storm must one day grow quiet. Even the longest night must yield to the rising of the sun. A warrior holds on to this truth in the face of chaos, refusing to let the temporary shadows convince them of permanent defeat. In the middle of a storm, it is easy to believe that the darkness is eternal. Fear whispers that the light will never return. Doubt insists that the struggle is too much. Pain makes every moment feel like forever. But resilience teaches a deeper truth: storms are seasons, not destinies. They come to test, to shake, to press, but they are never meant to last forever. And when you hold on to that truth, you carry a strength that allows you to endure the chaos with dignity. A warrior mindset looks at the storm and says, I will not be broken here. The winds may tear at me, the rain may drench me, but I will outlast this night. That is the power of resilience, the refusal to believe that the present pain is the end of the story. Warriors know that the darkest skies produce the brightest stars, that the breaking of dawn is most beautiful after the longest night. They carry faith not in what they see, but in what they know will come, the certainty that storms cannot last forever. Chaos can convince you that you are trapped, that there is no path forward, yet storms often clear the air, washing away what no longer serves you. They may leave scars, yes, but they also leave wisdom. They may leave broken pieces, but they also leave space for rebuilding stronger. When the storm passes, you realize you are not the same as before. You are deeper, wiser, tougher. That is the hidden gift within the storm, the lesson that endurance itself reshapes you. No warrior is made by walking only under clear skies. Warriors are made by surviving the night, by pressing on when the rain blinds their eyes, by keeping faith when the thunder drowns out hope. They do not curse the storm, they endure it, and in enduring, they grow. They know that the night, however long, cannot resist the power of dawn. They stand firm because they trust in what is greater than the storm, the promise of light, the promise of renewal, the promise of resilience that grows stronger every time chaos is endured. Even when the storm feels unbearable, time carries you forward. The night cannot stop the earth from turning, and the sun cannot be held back forever. This truth gives the warrior courage. They do not need the night to shorten in order to rise. They only need the faith to keep moving until morning comes. That faith becomes their anchor. It allows them to walk through chaos with calm, knowing the end will arrive even if they cannot yet see it. Every storm teaches patience, reminding us that waiting does not mean weakness. It teaches faith, reminding us that unseen forces are working even in the dark. It teaches endurance, reminding us that strength is often hidden until it is required. And when morning finally breaks, the warrior who endured the storm carries not only survival, but also the wisdom that light always returns. So when you are caught in chaos, remember the lesson that storms carry. They are loud but temporary. They are fierce but fleeting. They are dark but never eternal. And when the night passes, as it always does, you will rise with the strength of one who has endured. Every storm carries the lesson that no night lasts forever, and it is this truth that allows the warrior to walk through chaos with unshakable resilience. True strength is not in muscle, but in spirit that refuses to surrender. Muscles may falter, bodies may weaken, but the spirit that refuses to bow holds a power that no weight, no chaos, no storm can crush. The warrior mindset is not about how loudly you can roar, but about how deeply you can endure. It is not about the size of your frame, but the size of your faith, not about how hard you strike, but how steadily you rise each time you are struck down. The world often praises physical strength, the visible kind that can be measured, counted, displayed. Yet the true strength cannot be seen with the eyes. It lives within the heart, within the soul, within the quiet decision to keep moving when everything tells you to stop. Muscles may lift burdens, but spirit carries mountains. Spirit holds you when the weight is invisible, when the battle is within, when no one else can see the struggle you face. A resilient spirit is what allows a warrior to walk through chaos with dignity. It is what keeps them standing when circumstances try to break them, when fear rises, when scars ache, when storms seem endless. Spirit whispers that surrender is not an option. This is strength that no chaos can steal. This is the strength that survives even when the body feels weak, even when the heart feels heavy. It is the strength that says, I may be shaken, but I will not be broken. The battles that shape us most are not fought with muscle, but with spirit. When doubt fills your mind, when hope feels far, when fear tries to tighten its grip, it is spirit that resists. Spirit is not measured in speed or power, it is measured in persistence. It is the courage to rise again, the patience to endure again, the will to believe again. This is the strength that warriors live by, the quiet but unshakable force that carries them through chaos. Chaos often strips away what is surface level. It tests muscle, it tests endurance. It tests the body until it trembles. But what remains after everything else is spirit. And it is in that spirit that true strength reveals itself. A person may be weary in body but unbroken in soul. They may carry scars but still carry hope. They may walk slowly but still walk forward. This is the strength that outlasts storms, the strength that makes warriors unshakable. A spirit that refuses to surrender also brings light to others. People may see your resilience, your calm in chaos, your quiet strength, and they may draw courage from it. They may realize that if you can endure, so can they. True strength does not only lift you, it lifts those around you. It becomes a fire that sparks other fires, a reminder that within every soul lies the capacity to stand firm, no matter how fierce the storm. Muscles may fade with time, but spirit only grows stronger the more it is tested. Every battle fought, every scar carried, every night endured without surrender feeds the spirit with resilience. And each time you rise, your spirit tells you again that you are more powerful than any chaos, more enduring than any storm, more resilient than any fear. The warrior mindset is not about never falling. It is about never giving up. It is about carrying a spirit so determined, so deeply anchored, that surrender is never an option. The body may tire, the road may stretch long, but the spirit declares, I will continue. And with that spirit, no chaos can claim victory over you. True strength is not in muscle, but in the spirit that refuses to surrender. And that is the strength that makes a warrior unbreakable. The warrior mindset is choosing to rise every time the world says fall. Life will not always speak to you with kindness. It will not always offer encouragement or smooth roads. More often, it will test you with failure, rejection, disappointment, and loss. The voice of the world may say you are not enough, that your strength has reached its end, that you should stop trying because the weight is too heavy. Yet the warrior carries within them a deeper truth, a steady flame that refuses to be extinguished. It whispers that falling is not the end, but the beginning of another rise. Every person stumbles, every heart breaks, every dream meets resistance. What separates the warrior from the rest is not that they avoid falling, but that they refuse to stay down. When the world says fall, the warrior says rise. When life knocks them down 10 times, they rise 11. That choice defines resilience. It is not the absence of defeat, but the constant decision to meet defeat with endurance. Rising after a fall is not always graceful. Sometimes it is slow, painful, and uncertain. Sometimes it means dragging yourself forward with nothing but determination in your hands. But even that act of rising, however small, is proof of strength. Each rise, each attempt to stand again adds another layer of resilience. It builds character, it strengthens the spirit, it teaches that no fall can permanently define you unless you choose not to rise. The world may not always celebrate your rising. Some may only see the fall, some may doubt your ability to stand again. But the warrior is not concerned with the opinions of others. They rise because their spirit demands it, because their purpose pulls them forward, because surrender would betray the strength they know lies within. They rise not for applause, but for survival, not for recognition, but for growth. Rising again also changes how you see failure. Instead of viewing it as a final judgment, the warrior sees it as a teacher. Each fall carries a lesson, each setback reveals wisdom, each obstacle shapes character. Failure becomes part of the journey, not the end of it. And the more you rise, the less power failure has over you. It becomes not a chain, but a stepping stone, a necessary part of the climb towards strength and resilience. In chaos, the call to fall grows louder. Doubt presses harder, fear becomes heavier, and giving up seems easier. But the warrior understands that chaos only wins if you choose to stay down. Rising in the midst of chaos is the ultimate act of defiance. It is declaring to the storm that it may rage, but it cannot break the will to continue. It is showing the world that resilience is not about avoiding hardship, but about refusing to let hardship define you. Each rise becomes a declaration of identity. You are not the sum of your failures. You are the sum of your risings. You are not defined by how many times life told you to fall, but by how many times you chose to stand again. This is the warrior mindset, the refusal to let the world write the end of your story, the insistence on writing it yourself with every rise you make. So when the world says fall, when voices around you and within you insist that you cannot go on, remember that your strength is proven not by how perfectly you stand, but by how relentlessly you rise. That rise, no matter how small, no matter how difficult, is the essence of resilience. The warrior mindset is choosing to rise every time the world says fall, and that choice is what makes the spirit unshakable. In the end, the warrior mindset is not about living without storms, fear, or scars. It is about choosing to stand in the middle of chaos and discovering that you are far stronger than the world ever imagined. It is about remembering that adversity shapes you, resilience carries you, fear teaches you, scars remind you, storms refine you, spirit strengthens you, and the simple choice to rise again and again defines you. You are not here to crumble under life's weight. You are here to rise above it with dignity, courage, and unshakable resilience. So as you step back into the world, carry this truth with you no matter what comes. You hold the power to endure, to transform, and to triumph. May your storms refine you, may your scars remind you, and may your spirit never surrender. Good luck on your journey, and thank you for sharing this moment with me. Good morning. There's something sacred about the sound of silence after pain, something mighty about the stillness that follows the storm. You sit with your head in your hands, wondering why the world won't give you peace. You feel the weight of everything pressing down on your chest, and yet, here you are, breathing, still rising, still standing. That alone is a kind of magic most people will never understand. You see, we live in a world that tells us to show strength only in the bright places, to smile when it's easy, and to win when the odds are already in our favor. But the truth, the raw and beautiful truth, is that your strength does not shine most in the sunlight. Your strength glows in the dark. It trembles through the nights you cried quietly so no one would hear. It pulses through the mornings you got up when you swore you couldn't move. That struggle you carry is not your shame. It is your superpower. It teaches you. It molds you. It speaks to you in the language only survivors can hear. Every tear is a teacher. Every ache is a lesson. Every time you fall, the ground whispers something new, something meant for you alone. And those who have never been broken will never understand what it means to put yourself back together with grace. The world will try to call you weak. They will call your quiet wounds failures. But they do not know what it takes to walk with pain in your bones and still offer kindness. They do not know the depth of power in someone who has lost everything and still chooses to love. You are not less because you have struggled. You are more. You are layered. You are strong in ways the untested will never be. Every struggle shapes a strength that comfort could never teach. That is the truth life whispers when we are down on our knees, not sure if we can take another step. In comfort, we rest. In comfort, we enjoy ease. But in struggle, we grow. Struggle is where the lessons live. It is where the mirror is held up to our soul, showing us not just who we are, but who we could be if we kept going one more day. There's something in you that doesn't come alive until life presses you to the edge. Comfort never forces you to reach for more. It never asks you to dig deeper. It never shows you what you're made of, but struggle does. Struggle strips away the illusions. It takes away the noise. It puts you in a place where you hear your own heartbeat and recognize the rhythm of your will. You begin to discover the quiet power you've always had but never needed to use before. And that power is not loud. It is not showy. It is steady. It is steady like a drumbeat in the night. It is steady like breath after a long cry. It is strength that was born in fire. In your most difficult moments, you don't just learn how to survive, you learn how to stretch. You stretch beyond what you thought was possible. You discover patience in pain. You discover clarity in chaos. You discover the strength to keep walking even when your legs tremble and the ground feels shaky. And when you look back, you realize those hard places didn't break you. They built you. They gave you wisdom that soft days could never give. This is why struggle is not a punishment, it is a teacher. It is life's way of shaping you for something greater than what you can see now. You are not meant to stay in the valley forever, but you are meant to learn something while you're there. And every time you climb out of a low place, you bring with you a new kind of power, a power that cannot be bought, a power that cannot be given by others. It is the kind of power that only comes through the climb. When you've known the darkness, the light means more. When you've been empty, joy tastes sweeter. When you've lost your way and found it again, you no longer take direction for granted. Struggle awakens your senses, it awakens your purpose, it reveals the depth of your character. And when you come out on the other side, you are not the same. You're stronger, wiser, more grounded, more alive. People who have not struggled may have comfort, but they rarely have the courage that comes from standing face to face with fear and choosing to rise anyway. You have walked through moments that made others fold. You have carried weights that felt impossible. You have doubted yourself and still shown up. That is not weakness. That is not failure. That is real, unshakable strength. That is the kind of strength that cannot be learned in a classroom or borrowed from someone else. It must be earned, and you have earned it. So when you feel like you're being pushed beyond your limit, remember, this is not the end. This is the making of you. One day, the strength you are building in silence will speak louder than anything you've ever said. And that strength will carry you where comfort never could. What breaks you now will build the foundation of your greatness later. It's hard to see it when you're in the middle of it. When life feels like it's tearing you apart, when you're left staring at pieces of yourself you barely recognize, it feels like something is ending. And maybe something is, but what's ending is not your worth, not your potential. What's ending is an old layer of who you were being stripped away so something stronger, wiser, and more powerful can be revealed underneath. You don't build strength by avoiding pain. You build strength by standing in it, letting it teach you, letting it refine you. That moment where everything feels like it's falling apart is the very moment something deeper is being put together. You can't build a strong foundation until the surface has been broken, until the shallow layers have been cleared. So maybe this breaking, as painful as it is the beginning of your rising. Sometimes we confuse breaking with being broken, but they're not the same. Being broken is giving up, staying down, letting the weight win. But breaking, that's a process. That's transformation. That's when life is doing its hardest work on you, shaking loose the fears, the doubts, the limits you placed on yourself. It's like the earth cracking open before something beautiful breaks through the soil. The breaking is not the end. It's the start of becoming something greater. You've been through things that changed you, that shifted your spirit, that made you question everything. And yet, you're still here, still breathing, still reaching. That says something. That says there's more in you than the world ever gave you credit for. It means you've been quietly building a foundation made of experience, of survival, of lessons that no one can take from you. And that foundation, It's not made of easy days or smooth paths. It's made of hard nights and heavy choices. It's made of the moments you felt like you couldn't, but did anyway. Greatness doesn't grow in comfort. It grows in the dark. It grows in the lonely hours when you're questioning your path. It grows in the quiet victories that no one sees. And when you finally rise, when you finally step into that greatness, people will see the light, but they won't know the fire it took to get there. But you'll know. And that knowledge, that knowing, will make you unshakable. There will come a time when what once hurt you becomes your strength. What once shattered your peace will deepen your purpose. What once broke you will become the very thing that builds you. And not just for yourself, but for the people who need to see someone rise from what they thought would destroy them. Your foundation will not just hold you, it will lift others too. So the next time you feel like life is pulling you apart, remember this. Something beautiful is being built beneath the surface. Every crack is making room for something more solid. Every fall is clearing the way for a stronger step forward. This is not the end. It's the foundation of your becoming. Pain is not your prison. It's the pathway to power. It doesn't always feel that way, especially when it shows up uninvited, when it hits you in the middle of a quiet moment or creeps in after everyone else has gone. Pain feels personal. It feels like a punishment, like you've done something wrong just by being human. But pain is not here to chain you. It's here to change you. It's not meant to hold you down. It's meant to wake you up. There's something about pain that strips away the layers we no longer need. It forces you to stop pretending. It demands honesty. When you're hurting, you're not interested in masks or games or empty victories. You start asking the real questions. You start seeing what matters and who truly stays. That clarity is power. That honesty with yourself is strength. And pain, though it burns, becomes the flame that forges you. We spend so much of our lives avoiding pain, fearing it, numbing it, running from it. But what if we turned around and faced it instead? What if we walked into it knowing that it has something to teach us, something to give us that we could never find in ease? Because once you stop resisting it, you begin to notice that pain is a doorway, not a dead end. You learn how deep your courage goes when you move through pain. You learn how much your soul can hold without breaking. It humbles you, but it also grounds you. It makes you gentle where you used to be hard and strong where you used to be unsure. And that transformation doesn't happen overnight. It happens in layers, slowly, like sunlight warming frozen ground. Little by little, your power returns, not loud or showy, but steady, deep, and unmistakable. Power gained through pain is different. It's not the kind of power that needs to shout or prove anything. It's quiet. It walks into a room and doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. It knows what it's worth because it has been tested. It has been through fire and come out on the other side with scars that speak louder than words. This kind of power makes you fearless, not because you don't feel fear, but because you've already survived worse than fear. You've already made it through the nights you thought would break you, and that makes you unstoppable. There will always be people who haven't walked through what you have. They may not understand the silence you keep, the battles you fought in your own mind, the strength it takes to get out of bed some days. That's okay. You don't need them to understand. You are not here to explain your pain. You are here to rise from it. You are here to use it, to turn it into wisdom, to use it as fuel, to let it remind you of everything you've overcome and everything you're still becoming. So let pain do its work. Let it shape you, teach you, deepen you. Do not run from it. Do not fear it. Because once you pass through it, you'll find yourself standing in a place where strength is no longer something you reach for. It's something you carry in your bones. And in that moment, you'll know that pain was never your prison. It was your passage to power. The storm you survive becomes the story that saves someone else. We often forget that our pain has purpose beyond our own healing. In the middle of the struggle, all we feel is the weight of it, the heaviness that refuses to let us breathe. We're not thinking about stories or saving anyone. We're just trying to survive. But survival itself is powerful because when you come out of the storm, not only do you carry the strength it gave you, you also carry the map for someone else who's still walking through it. There is something deeply human about shared struggle. People connect through it. They find meaning in knowing they're not alone. And when someone sees that you've made it through what they're still drowning in, your story becomes their light. It becomes the thing that reminds them hope still lives, that rising is possible, that strength can be born in the middle of brokenness. You might think your journey is messy, too quiet, too slow, or not remarkable enough to inspire anyone. But the truth is, you don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to be real. You just need to be honest. When someone hears your truth and sees how far you've come, it doesn't just uplift them, it creates space for them to believe in their own path too. And sometimes that belief is the beginning of their healing. The moments that nearly broke you, the nights you thought you would make it through, they weren't wasted. They became sacred ground. The kind of ground that gives birth to wisdom. And that wisdom can't be found in books or borrowed from others. It can only be earned through living, through walking through fire and finding your voice on the other side. That voice carries weight. It carries truth. It carries something deeper than surface words. It carries the proof that pain can be survived. So don't be ashamed of what you've walked through. Don't silence your story because you think it's too raw, too rough, too real. That rawness is exactly what makes it powerful. You don't need a perfect past to inspire someone. You need the courage to be seen. And every time you share where you've been and what you've learned, you give someone else permission to be honest with themselves. You show them that struggle is not the end. It's the beginning of becoming someone who understands, someone who uplifts, someone who lives with deeper compassion. We don't always choose our storms, but we do choose what we carry out of them. You can choose to carry bitterness or you can carry wisdom. You can carry silence or you can carry your voice. You can choose to be defined by what happened or you can let it refine you into someone who rises and reaches back to pull others up too. That is a kind of power comfort will never give you. You may never know how many lives your story will touch, but trust this. The storm you survived wasn't just about you. It was also about the people who will one day look at your life and find the strength to survive their own. Struggle doesn't mean you're losing. It means you're transforming. It's easy to forget this when you're in the thick of it. When everything feels heavy, when nothing seems to move, when your heart aches from carrying what no one else can see, you start to question your path, wonder if the pain has a purpose or if the fight is even worth it. But what if this isn't failure? What if this is the very process that's shaping you into someone stronger, someone clearer, someone more rooted in truth? Transformation rarely feels like progress. It often feels like falling apart. It feels like confusion, silence, and a long stretch of waiting. But underneath that stillness, something is shifting. The old parts of you, the fear, the doubt, the need to be accepted by everyone, they're loosening their grip. They're being replaced by something more steady, something more grounded in who you are rather than who the world told you to be. And that process, while painful, is necessary. Struggle is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you are shedding. You are releasing parts of yourself that no longer serve your growth. The discomfort you feel is not weakness. It's the stretching of your spirit. It's the quiet breaking of the shell that once kept you safe but is now too small to hold your becoming. And just like the seed must crack before it grows, you too must pass through discomfort to uncover your power. Most people run from struggle. They run because it feels uncertain. It feels like standing in the dark with no clear way forward. But if you stay long enough, if you keep walking with your eyes wide open and your heart still willing, you'll begin to see what's really happening. You are not being buried, you are being planted. And soon what was invisible beneath the surface will break through as strength. as clarity, as a new version of you that couldn't have existed without the hard places. Struggle refines your vision. It forces you to let go of distractions and come back to what truly matters. When everything is being tested, you learn what is real. You learn what you can live without. You learn who truly stands beside you, and that wisdom earned through fire is what gives you power that no easy day could ever offer. You start to move differently, speak differently, live more honestly, and that authenticity is the fruit of your transformation. No one applauds the struggle. No one celebrates the silent moments when you choose not to give up. But that's where the real victory lives. It lives in your persistence. It lives in the way you keep showing up even when nothing makes sense. It lives in the way you refuse to stop believing in your growth even when the results are still unseen. That kind of resilience cannot be taught. It can only be built, moment by moment, in the fire of transformation. So do not mistake the struggle for defeat. It's not the end of your journey. It's the turning point. It's the sacred space between who you were and who you are becoming. And if you keep moving, even slowly, even quietly, you will look back one day and realize that every step, every fall, every ache was part of your rising. Your scars are not signs of defeat. They are symbols of victory earned. We often try to hide the marks life leaves on us like they make us less worthy or somehow damaged. But those scars, visible or unseen, are proof that we've endured, that we've survived moments that could have broken us entirely. They speak without words. They tell the story of someone who refused to quit, someone who fell and got back up, someone who kept walking even when it hurt to stand. The world may try to define beauty by perfection, but real beauty is in the imperfection that holds history. Real strength is not in the person who never struggles, but in the one who shows their wounds with grace, knowing each one is evidence of a battle fought and overcome. Every scar you carry tells a story not of weakness, but of resilience. They mark where healing began. They remind you of what you've come through, and they carry a quiet power that comfort never gave you. There is no shame in the struggle. There is no weakness in hurting. The things you have walked through, the pain, the heartbreak, the loss, the fear, they didn't take you down. Maybe they shook you. Maybe they left you with questions and sleepless nights, but you're still here, still moving, still growing. That is not defeat. That is victory. And the scars are simply the echo of that strength. They're the places where pain tried to leave its mark, but healing wrote its name instead. We often think victory looks like celebration, like applause and bright lights, but real victory often happens in silence, when no one is watching. When you wake up after a long night of doubt and choose to try again. When you forgive yourself for falling short and decide to begin anew. When you carry on with a quiet fire that only those who've been broken can understand. Those moments don't make headlines, but they build a kind of soul that lasts. Let your scars speak, not to impress others, but to remind yourself of who you are. You are not fragile because you've hurt. You are not broken because you've been through pain. You are powerful because you faced what should have stopped you and continued anyway. You are worthy not despite your scars, but because of them. They are the map of your survival, the art carved by your becoming. And when others see your scars, not the polished version of you, but the real, raw you, they don't see failure. They see hope. They see possibility. They see someone who has been through the fire and still found a way to shine. And that is what the world needs. Not perfection, not the illusion of ease, but the truth of someone who has lived, who has hurt, and who still chooses to rise. So do not cover your scars in shame. Wear them with quiet pride, not because the pain was fair or easy, but because you didn't let it win. Because every scar you carry is a reminder that you are still here, still fighting, still becoming the person you were always meant to be. You've walked with me through every layer of struggle, through the fire, the silence, the scars, the breaking, the rising. And if there's one truth that echoes through it all, it is this. The very things that tried to break you were never the end of your story. They were the beginning of your strength. The struggle did not come to destroy you, it came to reveal you, to shape you, to remind you of the fierce, unstoppable power that lives within you. So wherever you are on your journey, whether you're still climbing, still hurting, or just beginning to rise, know that you are not behind and you are not lost. You are becoming. And that becoming is sacred. The struggle is not your weakness. It is your superpower. It is the proof that your spirit is still alive, still reaching, still full of purpose. Carry your pain with purpose. Carry your scars with pride. And carry your story like the light it truly is. Because someone out there needs your strength to remember their own. Good luck on your journey. Keep rising, keep going, and thank you for listening. Good evening, everyone. My dear ones, let me tell you something you already know, but have somehow forgotten. You are enough right now, right here, as you stand, as you breathe, as you move through this world with all your laughter, your fears, your triumphs, and your tender wounds. You are enough. But somewhere along the way, someone whispered otherwise. They told you, you must do more, be more, fix yourself, and you listened. You grabbed books, set goals, measured yourself against rulers that weren't made for you. You ran and you ran, trying to outrun your own shadow, trying to reach a version of yourself that was always just one step ahead. Self-improvement, they called it. Growth, they promised. But growth does not come from tearing yourself apart. It does not come from the endless chase, from the cruel voice in your head that says, not yet, not good enough, not worthy. Oh, but let me tell you, growth comes like the morning sun, slow, steady. It warms you, not burns you. It stretches you, not shatters you. My dear ones, let me tell you something that has been true since the moment you took your first breath. You are not broken. You are not some unfinished thing that needs fixing, not a puzzle missing its pieces, not a mistake waiting to be corrected. You were whole when you arrived in this world, and you are whole now. But the world will try to convince you otherwise. It will tell you that you must be more successful, more disciplined, more perfect. It will whisper that you are not enough yet, not worthy yet, not deserving yet. And so you begin to chip away at yourself, pulling at the threads of your soul, tearing down the walls of your own being, all in the name of self-improvement. You read the books, listen to the speeches, follow the plans, and still that feeling lingers, that ache, that quiet voice saying, something is missing, something is wrong with me, but hear me now. Self-improvement should never come from a place of shame. Growth should not be fueled by self-hatred. If you must change, let it be because you love yourself too much to stay in places that make you small, not because you believe you are unworthy as you are. Let your journey be one of expansion, not erasure. You are not meant to destroy yourself just to build yourself back up again. Do you not see the beauty in you already? The way you have loved even when your heart was breaking, the way you have tried even when the odds were against you, the way you have stood even when the ground beneath you was shaking. That is not failure, that is not imperfection, that is grace, that is strength. And yet, you dismiss it, you overlook your own resilience, always searching for another version of yourself. A version that is thinner, richer, smarter, more admired. But what if the version of you that exists right now is already enough? What if you could wake up tomorrow and say, I am worthy today, not when I achieve more, not when I prove myself, but right now, in this moment. Because the truth is, self-improvement without self-acceptance is just another way to chain yourself to an unreachable standard. It is running a race with no finish line, climbing a ladder that never ends. You were not made to live your life in endless pursuit of something just out of reach. You were made to live, to breathe, to experience, to become, not from a place of lacking, but from a place of fullness. And so if you choose to grow, let it be from love. Let it be because you deserve more peace, not because you believe you are not enough. Let it be because you want to thrive, not because you are trying to outrun your own reflection. Let it be because you are nurturing yourself, not fixing yourself. Because, my dear ones, you were never broken to begin with. Listen closely, for this is something the world has tried to make you forget. Growth is not meant to hurt you. It is not meant to drain the life from you, to wear you down until you are nothing but an exhausted shell of yourself. No, true growth, the kind that lasts, the kind that fills you up instead of emptying you out, does not come from force. It does not come from self-punishment. It does not come from the relentless voice in your head saying, more, faster, better. But we live in a world that tells you otherwise, a world that glorifies the hustle, that worships the struggle, that says you must push harder, climb higher, do more, and only then will you be worthy of success, of love, of rest. And so you push. You wake up early, stay up late, stretch yourself thin, chase the next goal before you have even celebrated the last. You tell yourself that if you are not constantly improving, you are falling behind. If you are not exhausted, you must not be trying hard enough. If you are not struggling, you must not be growing. But oh, my dear ones, what a cruel lie that is. What a heavy burden to carry. Growth should not be a battle against yourself. It should not be a war waged on your own spirit. If the path you are walking is one of constant exhaustion, of never feeling good enough, then that is not growth. It is self-destruction in disguise. Do flowers force themselves to bloom before their time? Do rivers punish themselves for not flowing faster? No, nature understands what we so often forget. Growth happens in seasons. There is a time for movement and a time for stillness, a time for reaching forward and a time for resting where you are. You were never meant to be in a state of constant striving. You were not created to be a machine that produces more, achieves more, proves more. You were created to be, to experience, to evolve naturally, not through force, but through love. And yet, somewhere along the way, we have mistaken self-improvement for self-punishment. We believe that if we are kind to ourselves, if we allow ourselves rest, if we embrace who we are instead of endlessly chasing who we should be, then we are failing. But hear me now. You do not have to suffer to grow. You do not have to break yourself down just to prove you are worthy of rising. The most beautiful growth does not happen through pain alone, but through love, through patience, through knowing that you are enough even as you change. So if you must grow, let it be gentle. Let it be joyful. Let it be a journey of learning, not a battle of proving. Let it be an unfolding, not a tearing apart. And most of all, let it be filled with kindness, because you deserve to become not from a place of punishment, but from a place of peace. My dear ones, if there is one voice in this world you must learn to listen to, it is your own. Not the voice that echoes with the doubts of others, not the one that has been shaped by the sharp words of critics, not the one that has been molded by years of comparison and expectation. No, I am talking about the voice that speaks with love, with understanding, with the kind of deep wisdom that knows your worth even when you forget it. But too often that voice is drowned out by another, a voice that is sharp, relentless, and unforgiving, a voice that tells you you are not doing enough, you are not good enough, you are not worthy enough. And because you have heard it for so long, you mistake it for truth. You mistake it for motivation. You believe that the harsher you are with yourself, the faster you will grow, the stronger you will become, the more you will achieve. But tell me, my dear ones, when has cruelty ever been the foundation for true growth? When has self-hatred ever nurtured a soul? You would not speak to a friend the way you speak to yourself. You would not tear them down, tell them they are failing, tell them they will never be enough. You would hold them. You would remind them of their beauty, their strength, their worth. And yet you refuse to give yourself that same kindness. But hear me now. Your own voice should be your greatest source of comfort, not your deepest wound. It should lift you up, not bury you under the weight of impossible expectations. It should remind you that you are growing, that you are learning, that you are doing the best you can with what you have. And that is always enough. You do not need to speak to yourself with the voice of the world, the voice that says you must always strive, always push, always be more. You do not need to carry the weight of every criticism, every comparison, every expectation that was never yours to bear. You only need to carry love, love for who you are now, love for who you are becoming, love for the parts of you that are still learning, still healing, still finding their way. So the next time that voice in your head tries to tell you that you are failing, that you are not enough, that you must be more before you deserve kindness, pause, breathe, and replace it with the voice that loves you, the voice that sees you, the voice that knows you are already worthy. Because that, my dear ones, is the voice that will carry you forward, not through fear, not through shame, but through the kind of love that allows you to truly grow. My dear ones, let me ask you something. Who set the standard you are measuring yourself against? Who decided what was enough? What was worthy, what was admirable? Who drew the lines that you are so desperately trying to fit within? Somewhere, somehow, you were given a ruler that was never made for you, and now you hold it up to your life, measuring, comparing, stretching, shrinking, always chasing, never arriving. You tell yourself that if you could just be a little more, do a little better, reach a little higher, then you would finally feel whole, then you would finally be worthy. But tell me, has that moment ever come? Have you ever arrived at the place where you no longer feel the need to prove yourself? Or do you keep moving the finish line, setting new conditions for your worth, telling yourself that happiness is always just one achievement away? Oh, my dear ones, what a cruel race this is. One that never lets you rest, never lets you celebrate, never lets you simply be. You were not meant to spend your life in endless pursuit of a version of yourself that exists only in your mind. You were not meant to measure your worth against someone else's success, someone else's journey, someone else's story. Your path is your own. Your timing is your own. And nothing about you is lacking simply because it does not look like someone else's. Yet the world will try to convince you otherwise. It will show you images of perfection, stories of achievement, examples of greatness, and it will whisper, look at them, look at what they have done, look at how far you still have to go. And so you push yourself harder. You compare your beginnings to someone else's highlight reel. You forget that what is seen is never the full story, that the success you admire was not built without struggle, that the people you envy have their own battles you cannot see. And even if they didn't, even if their lives were as perfect as they appear, what does that have to do with you? Their journey is not yours. Their timeline is not yours. Their purpose is not yours. You were never meant to be a reflection of someone else's life. You were meant to be wholly, unapologetically, beautifully you. So put down the ruler that was never meant to measure your worth. Step out of the race that leads nowhere. Stop chasing a version of yourself that only exists in comparison to others. Instead, stand where you are in this moment and know that you are already enough. Not when you achieve more, not when you prove more, but right now as you are. And that, my dear ones, is the only measurement that ever truly matters. My dear ones, I need you to hear this. You do not have to reject who you are in order to grow. You do not have to erase the person you have been just to become someone new. You do not have to despise your past, your mistakes, your flaws in order to move forward. No, true transformation, the kind that lasts, the kind that brings peace instead of exhaustion, begins not with rejection, but with acceptance. But the world does not teach us this. The world tells us that we must shed ourselves completely, abandon every imperfection, turn our backs on our old selves as if they were something to be ashamed of. And so we begin to see growth as an escape. We run from our past, from our missteps, from the parts of ourselves that we do not yet understand. We believe that in order to change, we must first disown who we have been. Oh, but my dear ones, how can you build something strong if you do not honor the foundation? How can you move forward if you are at war with the person who has carried you this far? Growth is not a rejection of yourself. It is an embrace of all that you have been, all that you are, and all that you are becoming. It is holding every version of yourself with tenderness, knowing that even in your weakest moments, even in your hardest seasons, you were doing the best you could with what you had. You see, self-improvement that is born from self-hatred will never bring you peace. You can chase success, you can refine yourself, you can build a life that looks perfect from the outside, but if you are still carrying the belief that you are unworthy, that you are not enough, then no amount of change will ever satisfy you. You will always be running, always reaching, always waiting for the day when you finally feel whole. But hear me now, wholeness does not come from rejecting yourself. It comes from embracing yourself fully and completely. Yes, you will grow. Yes, you will evolve. Yes, you will change in ways you cannot yet imagine. But you do not have to hate where you are to love where you are going. You do not have to destroy yourself to build yourself up. You are not a mistake that needs to be corrected. You are a masterpiece that is still unfolding, still learning, still becoming. And that, my dear ones, is more than enough. Let me tell you something the world does not say enough. Resting is not failing. Stopping to breathe, to reflect, to simply exist is not proof of weakness. You have been taught that progress only happens when you are moving, that success only belongs to those who never stop pushing, that stillness is wasted time. And so you run, you stretch yourself thin. You push forward even when your spirit is weary, even when your body is crying out for rest, even when your heart whispers, please slow down. But tell me, my dear ones, what kind of life is one that never allows you to pause? What kind of growth is one that demands you break yourself in the process? Do flowers bloom by force? Does the tide rush in without retreating? Even the sun in all its power sets each night to make way for the moon. Nature itself knows what we so often forget. There is a time to move and there is a time to be still. Yet the world will try to convince you otherwise. It will tell you that slowing down is the same as falling behind, that if you are not constantly improving, you are failing, and so you push through exhaustion. You ignore the signals your body gives you. You silence the quiet longing in your soul that simply wants a moment to rest. But hear me now. True growth does not come from relentless striving. It comes from balance. It comes from knowing when to push and when to pause, when to climb and when to sit in the stillness of where you are. You do not have to earn your rest. You do not have to prove that you deserve a moment of peace. You do not have to wait until you have done enough, achieved enough, become enough, before you allow yourself to simply be. Your worth is not measured by how much you produce, how much you hustle, how much you achieve. You are worthy simply because you exist. So if you are tired, my dear ones, rest. If you are weary, pause. If your spirit feels heavy, give yourself the kindness you so freely give to others. The world will not stop spinning if you take a breath. You will not lose yourself if you slow down. In fact, it is in the quiet, in the stillness, in the gentle moments of rest that you will find yourself again. Because rest is not the enemy of progress. It is the soil in which true growth begins. Listen to me now. Self-improvement should never be a battle. It should not be a war you wage against yourself, a constant struggle to tear down who you are in hopes of becoming someone better. If the path you are walking is filled with shame, exhaustion, and self-criticism, then that is not growth. That is not transformation. That is self-punishment dressed up as progress. You were not born to spend your life at war with yourself. You were not meant to be your own harshest critic, to see only what is lacking, to demand more and more from yourself until there is nothing left to give. Somewhere along the way, the world convinced you that love was something to be earned, that you had to reach a certain level of success, of beauty, of perfection before you were worthy of kindness, even from yourself. And so you set impossible standards. You believe that if you just work harder, change more, improve faster, then maybe, just maybe, you will finally be enough. But hear me now, my dear ones, you are already enough. You always have been. You do not need to break yourself down just to build yourself back up again. You do not need to prove your worth through constant striving. Growth should not come from a place of fear or lack. It should come from love, from knowing that you deserve peace, that you deserve happiness, that you deserve to move forward not because you are unworthy now, but because you are worthy of something even greater. Let self-improvement be an act of love, not a punishment. Let it be a journey of discovery, not a desperate escape from who you are. Let it be filled with kindness, with patience, with the understanding that you are not a mistake that needs to be fixed. You are a soul that is meant to unfold, to bloom, to become. So, if you choose to grow, grow gently. If you choose to change from a place of love, not self-rejection. And above all else, my dear ones, remember this. Becoming a better version of yourself should never mean abandoning the love you owe yourself right now. My dear ones, if there is one thing I hope you carry from these words, it is this. You do not have to suffer to grow. You do not have to chase perfection, to exhaust yourself in endless striving, to measure your worth by how much you achieve. True growth is not found in self-punishment, in harsh criticism, in the relentless pursuit of becoming more. It is found in love, in patience, in the quiet understanding that you are already enough, even as you evolve. So walk your journey gently. Be kind to yourself as you grow, as you learn, as you change. Celebrate your progress, but do not shame yourself for where you have been. Rest when you need to, and never let the world convince you that your worth is something to be earned. It is already yours. May you grow not from fear, but from love. May you rise, not because you believe you are unworthy now, but because you know you deserve joy, peace, and fulfillment. And most of all, may you always remember that becoming your best self should never come at the cost of loving who you are today. Good luck on your journey, my dear ones. May it be filled with kindness, with wisdom, with the courage to embrace yourself fully. And may you always know that you are worthy exactly as you are. Thank you.